So the next article has something to do with UCK. There we go. Algorithms in interviews suck. Cut it out. I think somebody failed an interview and let's see, I might be wrong. Modern software is a spectrum ranging from deep algorithmic work to system design. The majority of software development happens between that range. Most developers work on application development, which is closer to system design than it is to low-level algorithms. Yep. I can't remember the last time that I had to implement a sorting algorithm. I've been mainly just placing a div over here, making it centered over there, that kind of stuff. Most software development interviews are for jobs somewhere between application development and system design. Yet many interviewers do technical interview rounds only for algorithmic challenges and system design, nothing in between. And it has to do with one thing only. It's just easy. Come up with a problem, tell them to solve it, and then judge them. Personally, I don't go with that approach. I don't think it tells you the whole picture. It does tell you something. Does the person know? Do they know? Do they understand? Do we have somebody who knows? Because even though you might not have to do this in your job, I want to know if you're capable. Because if you're not capable, I'll find somebody else capable. But I would never do an interview like that. My interviews are more about understanding how the person solves a problem, and if they have technical expertise, but I don't just give them a cookie cutter algorithmic problem. That's the easy approach, but I like it hard. The assumption here is that if you can solve algorithms into system design, you have the skills to develop applications. And I believe that assumption is not entirely correct, but it does play a little role. Like if you're capable of implementing an algorithm, I'm sure you're going to be capable of placing a div on a page and making it pink. That assumption is flawed. A broad range of skills is needed to develop applications. You will not get them by just practicing 100 hours to recognize specific algorithm problem patterns. You also won't get them by staring at overly simplified system designs of Netflix, Uber, or Rats. Oh, the poor dead bird. I was gonna say something, but I'm not. You get application development skills by, well, developing applications. But many technical interviews do not assess those skills. I just want to read. Algorithm interviews. For clarity, I'm talking about LeetCode-style algorithm problems. The majority of algorithmic interviews I've done were LeetCode medium and above. They're often referred to as data structures and algorithms. Typically, during an interview, a candidate is given a problem and is expected to solve and evaluate the solution's complexity using big O notation in less than 30 minutes. Often the interview is longer, but time is taken up for introductions and other questions. You are expected to start by thinking through the problem aloud before writing any code. While solving the problem, you are expected to explain your reasoning as you go along. Here are some example problems. Maximal square. Given an M times n binary matrix filled with zeros and ones. Find the largest square containing only ones and return its area. Longest substring without repeating characters. Given a string S, find the length of the longest substring without repeating characters. Merge k sorted lists. You are given an array of k linked lists. Each linked list is sorted in ascending order. Merge all the linked lists into one sorted linked list and return it. These problems can be fun to solve when you have time to reason about them. However, in interview scenarios, the time constraint and general pressure of needing to pass to get a job can induce anxiety. That is true. That is very, very true. People under pressure are not gonna work the same way as they would if they were already employed. Although, if you're one of those bosses that like to pressure people, I guess technically there would not be a difference. It's really not fair to judge them based on how they do in that state. They wouldn't be working in that state. But then again, you can't just give them a problem and tell them to solve it at home. We all know what happens. ChatGPT, anyone? And before ChatGPT, there would be people like me doing other people's homework. The standard advice from books like Cracking the Coding Interview, recommended reading by Meta, huh? Really? Is to spend several weeks to several months on preparation, depending on your current skill level and familiarity with data structures and algorithms. This is going to depend what kind of job you want. You want to work at Meta, where they really, really want the best of the best, even if it means they're not going to use all of their skills at work, but still they want to make sure they got somebody there who is smart enough to go through these problems and solve them. They want to know if there's a good problem solver, someone who likes to do mathematics. LeetCode's interview crash course includes 93 plus walkthroughs of example problems, 67 more curated practice problems, and 12 quizzes. Get through all this content while you're also presumably working or otherwise living your life can take months. Now that is up to you. You wanna get big, work like a big boy. This brings me to my next point. Don't waste a candidate's valuable time. And I agree with this very, very much. As a candidate, I love when my time is respected, and I go berserk when it's not. But when I interview people, I make sure that we're all on the same page, and the best way to assess how somebody thinks and works is to ask them to show something that they've done, something that they're worked on, so that they don't have to work on something specific just for the interview, not have to do an exercise or anything like that. They just gotta show us something that they're proud of. And then we talk about it. You have a conversation. We assess how they think based on their responses, how they react to our reactions. But not everybody's like me. A typical set of interviews includes 2 algorithm rounds and a system design round. 66% of the technical interview is dedicated to something you will likely code less than 1% during your entire career. I've been doing software development for more than 2 decades. The only time I study algorithms is for fun. Difficult challenges can be fun in your free time when no pressure exists for an interview. Again, this depends exactly what you do. If you're just a web dev monkey, obviously you're not gonna be using algorithms. Maybe not even at all. Might not even need to know about their existence. But if you're gonna be hired to work at Red Hat, oh, speaking of that, let me remove my red hat, then of course you need to know. If they appear in the course of my actual work, I use a typically built-in library that is battle tested. Without specializing that type of work, there's no way I could improve upon them. True. But if your work involves system on chips, microchips, microprocessors, you might end up in a shitty situation where you can't just use a library to do something for you. You need to be the one implementing a data structure that is efficient and works well on that specific platform. But like I said, you might not do that. Might never ever need to do that. It's always gonna depend what you're gonna be hired for. Of course, it's silly that for a web dev position, you're required to solve algorithm problems. Very silly. But it's probably just, you know what I suspect happened in that company? They probably didn't have the algorithmic questions in place, and they happened to have hired an idiot, and they highly regretted it. And so because of that idiot, everybody else coming after is gonna be punished. Very few people learn algorithm development on the job. It requires hours of personal time to practice enough of them to be useful in an interview. They are not job relevant for most developers. Emphasis on most. Algorithm interviews get false signals. Really? Yes, really. Let's see what he has to say. Algorithm challenges in interview signal only one thing. They signal only one thing. You practiced algorithmic challenges enough to recognize their patterns and solve them. Oh yes, it's just like school. It's exactly just like school. You memorize things, and then you hope that during the test you remember those things. It's funny because it is true. It is very, very true. You can better understand somebody by having a conversation with them. You'll see. You explore their brain. Shouldn't have said that maybe like that, not like that maybe. You're gonna figure it out much more efficiently than with just a blank or with just a bland question. and waiting for a response. I have lost track of the number of times that I've given the thumbs down on a candidate after having a conversation with them. They either don't know what they're talking about, or they're reciting articles, book definitions in the wrong context. God. And so many other instances. But they do not signal general development skills. They signal pattern recognition of specific algorithms and preparation more than they signal problem solving. I totally agree with that. By focusing on a person's ability to solve algorithms under extreme pressure of the artificial interview environment, we ignore other factors necessary for application development. The biggest being that a candidate can turn business requirements into a solution that solves the business need. That's right. That is actually important. But that takes effort. Are you working in a company that puts effort? Would you want to work for a company that doesn't put effort? Few customers have ever needed you to bubble sort better than another vendor. Besides, AI can already do that better than humans. Oh! In the best case, you find candidates that can productively develop applications. In the nominal case, you find candidates that have studied algorithms well enough to pass the interview. In the worst case, you alienate many candidates that not perform well with gotcha-type algorithm questions. And here's my point. I love when companies go the lazy route, because I can just avoid them. It is so nice not to waste too much of my time by just having them present me with a stupid algorithm question. I could just go, see ya, bye. Alternatives considered. So what should you do instead of using algorithms in interviews? Create tests more like what you expect the developer to do regularly, and which skills are essential for that work. Basically, see how they would do if they had been tasked to do something at your company. That's a good one. For example, focus on getting signals for interpreting business needs, functional requirements and non-functional requirements into efficient solutions, breaking down complex projects into manageable tasks and test steps, application of design patterns, use architecture principles like event-driven design, API first and buy versus build, evaluating what is worth automating, builds and tests in CI pipeline, reviewing code effectively, understanding the benefits of this process, comparing trade-off between threading and async coroutines for server construction, identifying opportunities for performance optimization in code, debugging and resolving issues in a given piece of code, refactoring code for improved readability and maintainability, integrating APIs effectively in software applications. Yeah, unsure of where to start with such a test? Coding Challenges is an excellent resource for challenges that fit these requirements. Is this an ad? Should I learn algorithms? Studying algorithms will make you a better overall developer, but that doesn't mean you need to be good at solving them in under 30 minutes while explaining your thinking. Being able to do that has nothing to do with real-world software problems. It's only useful for the artificial interview environments that are broken and should be changed. I recommend you learn challenging algorithms when you have free time and are under no pressure to get a new job. The best thing you actually learn from studying them that can be applied to broader areas in Big O notation and complexity. Understanding Big O will help you see unneeded complexity in application and system development. If you're applying to jobs that have algorithm interviews, then you have two options. Refuse to do algorithm interviews. Learn algorithms and practice them in an interview like an environment. Only one of those will give you a chance to get that particular job. If you want that job, do number 2. These interviews are flawed. Unfortunately, if you're trying to get a job and don't have the luxury of refusing to do these types of interviews, then you must do them to get the job. Here's a list of resources to learn algorithms and Big O to help you out. Conclusion. I want to see change in the way we do technical interviews. I don't do these types of problems when I give interviews. My goal is to bring awareness so others will change the way they interview. If you are given an interview, consider how you evaluate technical ability. If the job you are interviewing for actually involves working on deep algorithms, absolutely go ahead and test that. If your job is application development or more abstract, cut it out. Ta-da! Did it anger the people at Reddit? Worked at 2 big tech co's. Every experienced dev rolls their eyes about lead code type questions, but is powerless to change them. The most tacit acknowledgement that lead code is cruel and a bad signal is that almost no internal team transfer interviews include algorithm coding. It's always behaviorable. Oh god, I'm just having a boomer moment. Oh, hello Raiders! How you doing? How was your stream? I'm reading for you. If you don't know how to read, you're in the right stream. I'm gonna read for you. And while we are on the topic of doing good things for other people, I would like to tell you something very important to me. My sponsor, water. I'm sponsored by water. And I just so happen to be very thirsty, so it's so convenient. So if you do not drink water, I want to convince you to. Water is good for you. It is the best drink you can drink when you're thirsty. It always kills your thirst. You can't say the same thing about beer or wine or soda. It feels like it kills your thirst, but it's not as efficient as water. So drink water and support the stream. Mr. Streamer is gonna be very thankful. You don't think that I believe in water? Watch. I'm gonna drink water right in front of you. Oh yes, water. Thank you very much. On to the news and articles and the mean comments. When in doubt, use a hash map. It's basically your best option in JavaScript. In fact, in JavaScript, given that it's web development, it's not that big of a deal. So, almost every solution works out with a hash map. It just works. Our interviews, our conversations. If you tell me you built an app in Angular that had real-time updates for backend stat generation, you better be able to articulate clearly about what it is, how it was built, and the nitty-gritty of the architecture. Can you believe that I've had people that showed me their project and could not explain what they did or why they did things? It's a big red flag, and it sometimes smells like ChatGPT. That was a good article. Let me give you the link. There. The link is in chat. If you want to read it yourself or share with your friends.